Most traders won't admit this, but the real reason they keep losing isn't the market. It's the fact that they're trying to fight one of the most psychologically demanding environments in the world completely alone. They sit in silence after bad trades, pretending they're fine, scrolling through charts and YouTube videos, hoping the next strategy will magically fix what's really a mindset problem. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. If you keep isolating yourself, the market will keep exposing the emotional weaknesses over and over again. The traders who finally break through are rarely the ones with the fanciest indicators. They're the ones who stop pretending they have to do this alone and start surrounding themselves with the right psychological support. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. Today's topic centers on Naomi's experience with loss and the love in the Bible, a deeply human story found in the book of Ruth. Naomi's journey begins with tragedy, but slowly unfolds into restoration. Her life reminds us that even when grief strips away everything familiar, God can still weave new relationships and unexpected blessings into the future. Naomi lived in Bethlehem with her husband Elimelech and their 2 sons. During a severe famine, the family moved to the land of Moab, searching for food and survival. What began as a practical decision quickly became a painful chapter in Naomi's life. First, her husband died, leaving her widowed in a foreign land. Then, over time, some of her sons also died, leaving Naomi with only her daughters-in-law. In a matter of years, Naomi lost the people who had anchored her world. Crushed by grief and feeling empty, Naomi decided to return home to Bethlehem. She urged her daughters-in-law to stay behind in Moab where they might rebuild their lives. One of them, Orpah, eventually stayed, but the other daughter-in-law, Ruth, refused to leave Naomi. Ruth made a powerful declaration of loyalty, promising that Naomi's people would be her people and Naomi's God would be her God. Together, the 2 widows traveled back to Bethlehem with uncertain futures. When Naomi arrived in her hometown, the women of the city recognized her and were surprised to see how much sorrow had changed her. Naomi told them not to call her Naomi, which means pleasant, but instead to call her Mara, meaning bitter, because she felt life had dealt her deep hardship. Yet even in her grief, Naomi was not truly alone. Ruth stood beside her, committed to walking through the uncertainty together. In order to provide food for them both, Ruth began gleaning grain in the fields during harvest season. According to Israelite custom, poor people were allowed to gather leftover grain after the harvesters passed through the field. Well, one day, Ruth happened to work in a field owned by Boaz, a respected and generous landowner who was also related to Naomi's late husband. Boaz noticed Ruth's dedication and kindness toward Naomi and made sure she was protected and provided with extra grain. As Naomi heard about Ruth's experience in the field, hope slowly began to reappear in her heart. She realized that Boaz was not just a kind man, but also a kinsman redeemer, someone who had the cultural right to help restore the family's security and the family's inheritance. Naomi guided Ruth in approaching Boaz with humility and courage, trusting that God might be opening a door for their future. Boaz responded with integrity and compassion. He honored Ruth's character and eventually agreed to redeem Naomi's family line by marrying Ruth. Their marriage brought stability, provision, and new life to Naomi's household. In time, Ruth and Boaz had a son named Obed, who became the grandfather of King David. Naomi's story moves from profound loss to unexpected restoration. The woman who once felt empty ended up holding her grandson in her arms while the community celebrated with her. Through Naomi, Ruth, and Boaz, the Bible shows that seasons of grief do not have the final word. Even when devastating loss, love, loyalty, and faith can open the door to a future far greater than the one we thought we had lost. Naomi's story in the book of Ruth begins with something every trader eventually faces: loss. And Naomi did not just lose one thing. She lost the pillars that once made life feel stable. For traders, the market can sometimes feel the same way. A strategy that once worked suddenly fails. A position that felt certain collapses. The emotional shock is not only about money, it is about identity. Naomi's experience reminds us that moments of loss can make even strong people question everything they believed was secure. When Naomi returned to Bethlehem, she told the people not to call her Naomi anymore, but Mara, meaning bitter. Traders often experience a similar moment when losses change the way they see themselves. Confidence can turn into self-doubt. The mind begins replaying every mistake, every missed signal, every decision that seemed right at the time. Yet Naomi's story quietly shows that what feels like the end of our story may only be the moment where the next chapter is quietly beginning to form. What Naomi could not see yet was the quiet loyalty walking beside her in the form of Ruth. In trading, this loyalty often appears as discipline. Discipline is the companion that refuses to abandon us when confidence disappears. Even when traders feel discouraged, the simple act of returning to the charts, reviewing the data, and continuing to learn is like Ruth walking beside Naomi back to Bethlehem. Progress often begins not with certainty, but with commitment. That commitment eventually led Ruth into the fields of Boaz, though neither she nor Naomi could have predicted it. Traders experience something similar when they remain consistent long enough to encounter good opportunities again. The market rewards patience in ways that are often invisible at the beginning. What appears to be random can actually be the result of persistence, showing up day after day until the right conditions finally appear. Boaz noticed Ruth not because she demanded attention, but because of her steady work and character. Well, in trading, opportunity tends to notice those who approach the market with the same quiet consistency. The traders who eventually succeed are rarely the loudest or the most dramatic. They are the ones who keep refining their process, studying their mistakes, and respecting the structure of the market even when the results are temporarily discouraging. As Naomi began to see what was unfolding through Ruth's connection with Boaz, hope slowly returned to her outlook. Traders experience this moment as well. The moment when patterns start making sense again, when discipline begins producing consistency, and when the market no longer feels like an enemy, but a teacher. The shift is subtle at first, but it changes everything. What once felt like chaos starts to look like structure. By the end of Naomi's story, the woman who once believed her life was empty found herself holding new life in her arms. The journey from loss to restoration did not happen overnight, and it certainly did not happen without certainty. Traders can draw a powerful lesson from this. Loss may shape the beginning of the journey, but it does not have to define the ending. With patience, discipline, and faith in the process, what begins as a season of bitterness can slowly transform into a story of growth, wisdom, and renewal. Trading can feel surprisingly lonely. Many traders sit in front of their screens believing they are the only ones experiencing doubt, experiencing frustration, or second guessing after a difficult trade. After all, the charts move quickly. The candles form without emotion, and it can seem like everyone else understands something that you don't. But the truth is that every serious trader has faced those moments. The journey through the market is rarely smooth, and realizing that you are not alone is often the first step toward regaining confidence and clarity. The realization is exactly why communities matter. When traders begin sharing their experiences, something powerful happens. The struggle becomes normal and the lessons become collective. Instead of carrying every loss or uncertainty by yourself, you begin learning alongside others who are walking the same path. In our trading psychology community, we believe the market is not just a place to make money. It is also a place where personal growth, emotional discipline, and support can develop together. One of the most important tools for building that discipline is reflection. Successful traders take time to examine their decisions, their emotions, and their patterns. That is why we created a trading psychology journal designed specifically to help traders slow down and understand their mindset before, during, and after each trade. Journaling transforms scattered thoughts into structured insight, helping you see progress that might otherwise remain invisible. But the journal is only part of the journey. Growth accelerates when traders connect with others who understand the mental side of the market. Inside our trading psychology group, members discuss challenges openly, share strategies for staying disciplined, and encourage one another when the market tests patience. What often begins as a conversation about trading quickly becomes a network of people who genuinely want to see each other succeed. Many traders spend years trying to figure everything out alone. They watch countless videos, jump between strategies, and chase the next promising setup without realizing that the real breakthrough often comes from strengthening their mindset. When traders surround themselves with people who value patience, structure, and emotional balance, the entire experience of trading begins to change. If you are on this journey and something feels like you are navigating the market by yourself, consider this your reminder that there is a community ready to walk alongside you. We invite you to download the Trading Psychology Journal, join our group, and start participating in the conversations. The insights shared there may help you see both the market and your own potential in a new way.